You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K24. It's myself, Momutsi, alongside me as always, the not one, the not two, the three-time NBA champion, Mr. BJ Armstrong. How's your day going, brother?
Oh, fabulous, Mo. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous in the world of the NBA and sports, the global community. And what you got on the agenda today?
Well, the big thing all the NBA fans are talking about today is JJ Redick and LeBron launched their own show. It's called Mind the Game, I think. I used to have a podcast
Okay,
called Mind Games, in which it was a sports
okay,
psychology podcast with an NBA
okay.
trainer and a sports psychologist. And I was checking the IP to make sure that I couldn't sue LeBron for taking my title. But jokes aside, it's a very interesting show. I actually watched it this morning,
Okay,
and I actually wanted to get your take on something. The
okay,
title of their first episode is what makes a great basketball player. Not just a good
okay,
player, not just a star, but we're talking all-time greats. And obviously, you've played with and
okay.
against some of the greatest to ever do it. And the one thing that really stood out to me, um, is the big focus LeBron had in when he talked about you have to enjoy the process of every single day trying to get better. And if you're not committed to that every single day, and he mentioned, there's some guys you see in the All-Star game, and after they get their max contract, you don't really see them again. And that's really what stood out to me in terms of not just loving the max contracts and the rings and the all-star appearances, but actually loving the process of the day-to-day waking up, getting your workout in, getting your stretching in, getting a nap, getting your cardio, XYZ. So, BJ, I wanted to ask you, from all of your experience in the NBA as a player, in the NBA as a member of front office, and now as an agent to players, what makes a great basketball player?
How much time we got, Mo?
Well, we
You
do about
know,
30 minutes. So give me
okay.
as long as you
All
need, as
right.
long as it's within like
Well,
15, 20 minutes, because I've got some other
here,
questions too.
here, here, here is the thing: is it's very hard. It's very hard to act like you know something if you haven't done it. It's hard to comment about something if you don't really understand, or better yet, you've researched the subject matter in which you're discussing. That's why you become an expert. And when you become an expert, then you further that to become a master. And then once you become a master, then you're able to teach and speak on certain things. And out of all the great players I've met, played with, played against, come in contact with in whatever profession, right? It's not like, well, what allows you to be great in one thing, and then there's a different process. What allows someone to be great? Well, the first thing is, in my opinion, well, it's not even an opinion, and I have to be very careful because I'm not trying to. It's not me versus. This is just what it is. Every person I've met that's been great at whatever it is, and I've been fortunate to have met a lot of great people who are masters, master teachers at their respective profession. Everyone has something that they're like phenomenal at. And it's up to you to find it. And we're talking about basketball. I've never met a person who tried to be great. They were great. There is no process. There is no process. It's not like you're building from one day to another to be great. You are that.
BJ is coming
And
like
you
Yoda. Do or do
and you
not. There
no
is
no
no try.
you demonstrate that every single day. Every single day provides a different challenge to be great. You don't work at it.
Yeah, but not every player comes in the league as a great player. So,
Okay. Okay. Then you're not a great player. You're a role player. Be that.
but no one has come into the league and from day one been the best player of all time from their first game in the league. Everyone has had to improve.
Okay. That's one way to look at it. Every great player that I've ever seen that I've ever met, every great person, they were that. They were that. You just didn't see it. It's not like Jordan came in and was like a role player his first year. He was that. It just took time for everyone else to see that.
What about someone like Giannis? Because he wasn't a great basketball player when he came to the NBA.
Okay. I saw Giannis in Greece.
Yes.
I saw that. It just took me enough time to say, for me to really figure out what I saw. When I saw him, the first thing I said was, I don't know what this is. They said, well, he's tall, he's athletic, but he can't shoot. I said, no, something is different here. It just took me enough time because I hadn't seen that version of great. I had never seen a 7-footer that played like that.
What about someone like James Harden, who came in the league as a bench player, role player, and then went on to become a great player?
I saw James Harden in high school. James Harden was an all-time, he was one of the best players in high school.
We see lots of great high school players that don't go on to become great NBA players. We see great high school players that don't even make it to the NBA.
Okay, so I'll give you one of the prerequisites to be a great player. All great players can get from point A to B. All great players utilize the same principle since the beginning of how do you get from A to B? You get there with the use of the dribble. I saw James Harden in high school as like a 9th grader, 10th grader. He could always dribble. He could always dribble. He could always get from A to B. He could always score the basketball. He could always create off the dribble. It just took time for all of the rest of us to see it. It wasn't like James Harden was like, the 200th best player in the United States as a senior in high school. He was a McDonald's, and it means something to us, may not mean anything to you guys. He was a McDonald's All-American, okay? He was in the same class. That class was so good that they produced 2 number-1 picks. They produced Derrick Rose. They produced Blake Griffin. They had Michael Beasley in that. James Harden was in that. They were unbelievable.
But so what I'm saying is Michael Beasley was a great high school and college basketball player, but he wasn't a great NBA player. So what's the difference between those who do go on to become truly great in the NBA?
Okay. Your talent is superior to the other players. Your talent, not your ranking.
Yeah.
Not your
Beasley had supreme talent though.
Okay, I'll say it again. You have to have an advantage. I'm going to be very specific here. You have to have an advantage that allows you to be different than the other players that you are competing against, right? You got to have something that sets you apart. In scouting terms, you say, what does this guy hang his hat on? So let's take a look at Beasley. Beasley was without question the best scorer in that class. Without question. Okay, without question, he was the best scorer. Now, what talent did he have that was far superior than the players that he would be competing against? Was he a better scorer than Kevin Durant? Was he a better scorer than, let's say, LeBron James? Was he a better scorer, let's say, than Kobe Bryant? What talent do you have that sets you apart from the players you will be competing against? Okay, is he the tallest? Well, Wembanyama is taller than any player that he'll be playing against. Is he stronger? Is he faster? Does he jump higher? What did he do that set him apart that would make you say he's different than the other 400 players that's playing in the NBA? Not because he's the best player in high school. What's going to allow him to be the best player at that level? Go. I'll wait.
But then if you're saying, is he the tallest? Is he the fastest? Is he the strongest? That means there can only be like 10 great players ever. Because there can only be the best in the category for.
I'll rephrase it. Okay. If you're evaluating players if you're evaluating players, you have to look at all of the players. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you're going to be better than everyone else. Just because you're stronger than everyone, it doesn't mean you're going to be better. What's your superpower that allows you to be different than the other players? So take Steph Curry. He's not taller than everybody. He's not stronger than anybody. He's not faster than. But what superpower does he have that's superior than everyone else?
You tell me.
You tell me, because we got to make it to where we can't just like an all for one and a one for all. Well, this guy was great in high school, so he should be great in the pros. And that's not how it works.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So what has made Stephen Curry so great?
Stephen Curry's shot-making ability is what made him different than all the rest of the players. We've never seen a player that can make shots at that consistency ever. It's real simple. We've never seen a player at that size be that consistent shooting the ball at that distance. Oh, well, that's a little different. Wow, I never thought that a player could shoot 50% from that range at that volume. Okay.
Do you think that greatness as a concept has a element of it that is God-given talent, so to speak, that some people are just innately born and built to do some things? Because Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen. But there are plenty of other guys who probably put up just as many shots as he has, practice just as many hours as he has, who aren't as great as Stephen Curry.
The process is, I have to be very careful because I have kids. And when you tell kids, you got to be careful when you tell kids the truth. Like sometimes you got to just let it be. Just because you shoot 5,000 shots a day doesn't mean you're going to be a great shooter.
Exactly. So that's what the question I'm asking is, what separates
how does that translate?
greatness?
How does it? I've met some people that are phenomenal practice shooters, but can't shoot it in the game. I've met some people who are awful practice players, but are phenomenal in the game. Okay. So what makes a great player? That player is great. He is great. Now, you may not have seen it. Because you may not know what you're looking for. Greatness comes in all different shapes and forms, and just like that's why we missed on Steph Curry. We had never seen it before.
So this is the question.
That's why we missed Michael Jordan. We hadn't seen him before.
So that's why the question I'm asking is, do you think that greatness is something that's just like a natural gift that the great players have received?
No, it's not. It's not a natural gift. It just is what it is. Natural is you trying to understand what it is to be great. The reason you're trying to understand it is because that's not who you are. When I say you don't have who's a great player we're talking about. You don't have Anthony Edwards' thought process.
Yeah. But like I humbly consider myself great at what I do, right?
Okay.
But the question is being a great NBA player. Do you see what I'm saying?
If you're good, be that. Be it. A lion doesn't think about being a lion. It is that. Be that. Don't think about being great at what you be it. I didn't think about, like, as a kid, I never thought about like, well, if I do this, I'm going to be. No, if you asked me as a kid what I was going to do as an adult, I'm an NBA player, and people be like, come on, man. Come on, B. Like, I was like, no, that's what I am. I carried myself like that. I talked like that.
So did I. It didn't work out for me.
People can say things, but Mo, you couldn't have. There was no other option for me. Like, I'm saying it with great humility. Now I realize how absurd it was for me to think this way. Now I'm as a parent, I can understand why my parents were always concerned for me, because I didn't like, all right, yeah, I'll do this, but Mom, I go to school, and she'd be like, hey, you want to get all A's in school, BJ, you want to do good. And I'll be like, okay, I'll do that so you guys won't ask me to get in my way, because this is what I'm going to do. I went to school not because I enjoyed school. I wasn't a good student because I wanted to be a chemist or something. No, I went to school so that my parents had to shut up. I'm just going to be honest.
Same.
I went to school, and so my teachers couldn't say anything when I said, hey, I was going to school. I was like, Mom, can you drop me off at like 6 a.m? She was like, why? I was like, because I got to practice before school. She was like, well, she's going to say, well, you can't do it because you're getting bad grades. And then when I said, hey, I had to stay after school, and all my other friends were going to wherever they were going, prom or vacation or whatever, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. When I was a kid, I used to sneak in the gym at like 10, 11 at night on the weekends. So after the game would be over. We play on a Friday night or Saturday. And then I would wait till everybody leave. They lock the doors up, and I would sneak in the gym. And I knew that the people could see me because the lights were on in the gym. And they allowed me to do it because they knew it was just me. So I'd be in the gym at like 1 a.m. on a Saturday night while everybody else was doing whatever they were doing because there was no other option for me. So when I look at greatness, there's always something a little off about those people. I don't look at the physical qualities of greatness because the physical quality is just what I'm seeing. I look to see what edge does this person have that's far different than everyone else. So as a kid, I never wanted to go to any school functions because it got in the way of my basketball. I didn't want to socialize because it got in the way of my basketball. I didn't care about cartoons. I didn't care about dating. I didn't care about what y'all call drip. I didn't care about fashion, haircuts. All I cared about was basketball and what I was going to do to get there. There was something extreme. You can ask anybody in my family. You can ask anybody that knows me. I didn't care about going to the museum. I didn't care about none of that. I didn't go to prom. I didn't go to one school function because I was like, no, why would I go to a school function? Why socialize when I could be working on my game? And my mom was like, and my dad were like, hey, you should probably go to some school functions. You probably should do some things to integrate. And I was like, no, I don't have time for that. Like I was so extreme. I didn't care about eating. I didn't care about parties. I didn't care about everything you probably wanted to experience as a youth or a teenager. I didn't care about it because all that mattered to me was I knew where I was going. I knew what I was doing, and I didn't care. When I went to college, Mo, it wasn't about fun. You know how people, oh man, this is great. I want to have fun, and I'm gonna like. You can ask anybody. You can ask anybody where they saw me. Okay, I was so. It's kind of embarrassing to say this. Every day, every year, back when I was in college, and they still have it to this day, where you can only start practicing with your team like whatever, October 3rd. So, practice is like 10 o'clock on October 3rd. Every year, I made my coaches meet me at the gym at 12 a.m. on October 3rd. Because I was going to get my 2.5, 3 hours in the first day I could. And every single day after practice, if they told me they weren't going to practice, I was going to go play intramural basketball to work on my game.
BJ, man, stop cooking the students that are just trying to
No. But this is, and you can ask anybody who was at University of Iowa. I played in the intramural league while I was playing in college. Because Mo, I was getting my work in. All of that going out, hanging out, playing, doing all that stuff, playing in a game and scoring points and working on my game, grinding, nah. I was going to be that. If I was going to be a basketball player, I was going to be that. I dress like that. I talk like that. I act like that. I ate like that. Every single thing. You can ask anybody. While everybody else was going out after the game, you can ask any of my coaches. Hey, coach, can we come back that night? This wasn't like a rare thing. This wasn't something I was doing to get a social. It was no social media. I wasn't getting to. No, My coaches knew that. Okay? My coaches knew that about me. And wherever they go, maybe this guy had enough talent, maybe he didn't. There was something very extreme. There's something very extreme about me right now as I'm saying this, because I have to suppress this because I know I know what I'm capable of really doing. So I already see these people talking about working hard and all these things. And then I knew Larry Bird. Okay? I know what hard work looks like. And I know the difference between talking about it and the people who are actually doing it. I can look at them and I can actually tell, because when you really work like that, you're not telling nobody that's what you're really doing. Because I'm not doing it to let Mo know who I'm going to play against, to be prepared for that. I want to sneak up on Mo. Listen, if I'm playing against Mo, I'm not telling Mo on social media what I'm doing to prepare to see him during the regular season. Okay, the lion isn't telling the gazelle, hey, I'm going to be here at the watering hole. No. When you are out there doing something and you got to compete, it's you versus me. And I knew that about it. I hope my son doesn't mind me. He's 8. My son, Mo, who competes, he's beginning to develop this kind of altered, extreme competition. It's not forced. My son was at tennis practice yesterday. My son, as they were practicing, the kids were practicing, everyone's great, 8-year-old, you hit it back, yay, 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 little Johnny, yay, yay, little Susie. Everybody's like, it's great, hitting it back. My son stops in the middle of practice, goes, I won because I hit it the back the most times. He was keeping score. And I stopped.
I love that.
No. It's not normal for an 8-year-old to be keeping score of all of the other kids and they're just having fun. Like kids should. Hey, you have fun, run around, boom, you hit it back. Great job. See you next Monday. No, he's keeping score. He wanted to know who won the game. And he wasn't satisfied with our answer saying, hey, great job. No, who won? He was keeping score of his score versus everybody else and the teacher's score. So finally, I had to walk out on the thing and I said, listen, you can be that competitive at home, but you got to show some humility. I'm talking to an 8-year-old like, hey, you got to show some humility. He was like, what's humility? I was like, hey, like everybody's not keeping score. Some of the kids are just here to have a good time. Now, I'm beginning to see that that's unsolicited. That I know there's something in him that wants to compete, me versus you, and he's doing it right now. All the physical stuff, he understands that as an 8-year-old. So either that's in you or it's not in you. I'm not pushing it on him. This isn't a drill or da-da-da. It just is what it is. So if you're going to be great, you just see it. You just see it. There is no practice. Let me tell you something about a great player. The one thing that I learned, and I didn't learn this, I knew it, but I didn't know it until I left the Bulls. When I was at the Bulls, we never had a practice where somebody wasn't keeping the score. Okay.
The other teams do that.
Some teams like, hey, just get up some free throws, guys. 5-minute break. Okay, Mo. Okay. I'm going to show you. And anybody who played in Chicago knows this. Every single thing you kept score.
Mm-hmm.
You kept score, and the players held themselves accountable. We were competing at the free throw line. You competed the shooting drills. You were competing for the defensive drill. Everyone wanted to know who was the best in every single drill. And that was just self-governed. There was no such thing as like, okay, guys, we're going to do this drill for 5 minutes and move on to the next drill. No, who won the drill? Why does someone have to win a closeout drill on a random Tuesday? Well, because that's who we are. Because everyone had to know who was the best. Why was it important for us when we did do conditioning sprints to make sure that we touched the line? Because everyone does that. Now, some players, well, I got close enough. I just ran down there, whatever. No, that's not how we work. And I didn't realize that that wasn't a thing until I left the Bulls. Till I left certain players. Oh, there's a difference between this team and that team. Last thing I'll say about this being great. When you see it, you know it. Okay? When you see somebody shoot a sky hook, you ain't grinding. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that wasn't like grinding in the gym. That's what it was. Magic Johnson, that's what it was. And I don't speak much about the late Kobe Bryant, but him and I shared the same agent. So I knew him at a very, very young age. I knew his dad. I knew his mom. And was it a surprise that he went on to be great? No. I remember meeting him at 18 years of age. And I go, oh, he's got it. It's like Picasso. He was going to be Picasso no matter what. You just happen to have seen it at a time where you can you saw that at 18. Everybody who saw him knew that there was something extreme about him that was different than everyone else. Now I love hearing all these stories about people telling me the mentality, and this wasn't hard to see. This was like everyone saw it. It was just a matter of when were you going to see it? It's kind of like, the champion. If I was able to see all the teams in the summer, I could tell you who's going to be the champion. Why? Because they're preparing like a champion. They think like a champion. You don't become a champion during the regular season. You don't. No, you are a champion in the off season. You just happen to have saw what we were thinking in the offseason, and then that's why we're the champion. Jokić, I love the fact that he goes to Serbia, I believe, and everyone goes, oh, he's just riding horses partying. That's what you think?
That's what he's letting you see.
Because he thinks like a lion. He doesn't travel in a group. He's just like, he's just hanging out. He's just riding horses. He's just partying. And then he just shows up and casually has another MVP type season. No, that's not a mistake. That's because he understands, and he understands how to compete. He understands what competition is all about. Of course, you want people to undervalue. That's his superpower. We all, well, he can't jump high. Oh, he can't run fast. Oh, he can't do all these things. That's his superpower. You undervalue what you can see, because we're all looking for the guy. Oh, this guy's got a 50-inch vertical. This guy is the strongest guy in the NBA. Oh, this guy is the fastest guy in the NBA. You can see that guy, but you can't see Jokić. You can't see him. So we undervalue him. We don't understand what we can't see. That guy, I don't know what he's doing, but I can tell you this. He thrives in competition, and he's very comfortable being uncomfortable. And because he's comfortable being uncomfortable, I'll say this about Jokić. I believe he got drafted in the second round, right? Didn't he get drafted in the second round?
Second round during a Taco Bell advert.
The things that always concern me is about people who are comfortable dealing with their own failures. I'm very concerned. He didn't come into this league highly touted. He wasn't like a lottery pick. He wasn't like expected to be this. He probably won't say it, but I'm sure he thought that he was better than the other guys that were drafted ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's pretty reasonable to say he was probably better than the second round pick.
Maybe. Just maybe.
Is that fair to say? Okay. Is that fair to say? But I've never heard him publicly say anything about it. At least I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's dealt with that level of failure in his eyes and turned it into something that just drives him, it's always a concern for me. Because when people are able, it's not how you deal with success that defines you, it's how you deal with the adversity. And he has dealt with that to me as well as anyone I've seen. He's dealt with it. He's internalized it. He is compartmentalized it in a way that he's saying.
Underrated from that draft, that same year, Yusuf Nurkic, another European 7-foot big man, was drafted at number 16, just outside the lottery by the Bulls, who traded the pick to the Denver Nuggets. So the Nuggets have already got a big European on their roster from that same draft as Jokic, and he's watching a draft. He's seeing all these guys get picked ahead of him. And now that's his teammate, and they got to fight for minutes.
Now, what always concerns me, Mo, it's like right now, you know who's the most fascinating player to me, and I've never even told you this.
Oh,
it's Jason Tatum.
Okay.
And the reason that he fascinates me is because on one hand, he's only like 25 or so, right? He's like 25.
Just turned 26. Just turned 26 the other day.
He just turned 26, right? Okay. He's 25, 26. But when you look at his resume at 25, 26, it's as impressive as I've seen from our 25 and 26-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's been to the NBA Finals. He's been to the conference finals. He hasn't won yet, but the other great players haven't won until they were like 27, 28 years of age. That's normally when you kind of
get to your peak of your powers. Yes.
Well, he's ahead of schedule.
Prime. Yeah.
He's ahead of schedule. And I'm fascinated to see his mental makeup moving forward in his career. Because he hasn't won the big game, but when you look at it, you go, he's ahead of all of the guys who are the great players. He's ahead of them. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. But I'm fascinated to watch because it's not his talent, we can physically see his talent. We can see he's tall, he can shoot, he step back. He got every offensive thing in his bag, as you guys say. What I'm really fascinated, though, is mentally, how is he going to challenge himself to achieve now what I think he has an opportunity to do? He has an opportunity to pass all these guys, and he should, because he's ahead of them. He's ahead of all of the great players. If you said at 25, the guy has been, how many finals has he been to now?
Just
conference finals.
Oh, how many conference? 4, 5?
Okay.
He's been there like every year except for like 2, where one year Jaylen Brown was injured and 1 year was,
He's been in the NBA finals. They have the best record in the league. I mean, he's doing this, Mo, at a very young age.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking around everyone else, but when you really look at his resume right now, you're going, whoa, I mean, this guy gets to 27, 28. He could really go on a run. I don't know how he's going to be able to sustain this because he's been doing this at such a young age. I don't know, but I'm learning how he's doing it. And I'm fascinated to watch because you ask what makes a great player, there he is. He's doing it. He's being it. But we're so busy looking at all the other things. We're looking at the highlights and we're watching greatness right here, right in front of us every single day. And we're looking at last night, everyone's just looking at the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who got dunked on? Oh, this guy got whatever. This is the craziest dunk of the year. This is the highlight of the year. This one got all the social. Here's a guy that is ahead of people we consider the greatest player of all time. And he's ahead of these guys right here, right now, in real time. And no one's talking about it. So I don't want to hear what's the question. We got a guy that's doing it. This guy should be, right now, people should be saying Jason Tatum is on pace because he's achieved all the individual success, right? He's achieved the team success. And by our statistics and evaluation, this guy is on pace to be one of the greatest players to ever do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here to learn. Jason Tatum is I'm fascinated with this guy because I don't know how he's going to be able to do this one. Because when you see greatness, you're seeing it for the first time. I don't know how anyone is going to be able to sustain that level from the entirety of their career because he came in doing this.
Yep. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think
we all should. We all should. But I just wanted to make that clear because that's a fascinating question.
When it comes to greatness, I think the best quote comes from not an NBA player, but the greatest boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali. I was the greatest. I said it before I even knew I was. And that's how you really got to think if you want to be great.
Well, you can say it.
No, you got to believe it. You can't just say it. You got to truly believe it.
Well, you have to. You can believe it. Some people believe it, but you got to be it. Like you have to be it. Like, you know what's amazing about great players? That's who they really are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like you and I in the media business. You know what's amazing about watching Charles Barkley?
Mm-hmm.
That's who he really is.
Yep. And that's why it works so well.
I've been knowing Charles since the 80s. Charles was that way when I met him. Then he was that way in every locker room. He's been him and I went on Nike trips together. He was that way on everywhere I've seen him. The guy that you guys see in television, you go, oh man, this guy's he's the best in announcing or whatever. He's the best.
They don't say he's the best. They say he's the funniest.
Well, the guy's getting paid like he's the best.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that. Yeah. I can tell you that. Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm trying to get some of that.
Charles Barkley, that's who he really is. He's not putting on. He's not acting. He's not trying to be something. That's who he really is. And for that, the authenticity of him is now we see it. He was that way when he played. Like Charles played that way. He talked that way. He acted that way. But if he was your friend, Charles was your friend. If he didn't like you, you knew where you stood with him. So greatness, you just be it. And when you see it, I can assure you, that's why, Mo, you always hear me talk about, I love to scout. Why? Because I'm not going to wait to find out that Wembanyama was good this year. Like everyone's like, oh my God, like, did you know Wembanyama was this good? Well, that was my job. I saw it years ago. I've been knowing
it for 6 years, man. Come on.
Exactly. So now that everyone else is getting an opportunity to see it, it's because this is what it is. This isn't like, oh my, like the fact that we're watching him put up these historic numbers, just like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, like I kind of suspected that this guy had the chance to do this.
Mm.
Why? Because this is what we do. This is what you do. And now he's just being who he is. That's why he's Wembanyama. My family loves Wembanyama because I haven't asked them in a very long time to come to a game with me. That's kind of like a running joke in the family. Like everyone's busy, whatever. Dad, I'll watch the highlights or whatever they do. But I wanted to make sure that they could say they saw this kid his rookie year. And I require in the Armstrong household that everyone sees him live once, so they can say, hey, they saw Victor Wembanyama, right? They saw this because I think that highly of him.
Absolutely.
Not when he becomes defensive player of the year 10 times or whatever. And I don't know how we'll be talking about it 10 years from now, but that's what makes a great player. It just is. It is what it is.
Absolutely. And the greatest podcast in the world, the Hoop Genius podcast. Make sure you subscribe across YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Because we don't just show up once a week.
Because that's what it is, Mo.
We show
and
up
this
every
is what
day.
they want.
And we show up with greatness every day. So make sure you subscribe. Appreciate each and every one of you who tunes in. BJ, appreciate you as always. We'll be back tomorrow with more.
Thank you. And like I said, this is just when you start saying great, it's not you versus me or you versus them. It's always the greatness is you versus you. Right? If you want to see greatness, just look in the mirror. If you want to see greatness, just look in the mirror. Because there it is.
That's a bar. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Get buckets.